Hi, hello, my name's Robin Lambert, I'm 19 years old and living with cerebral palsy, but you guys know me as the T-Rex and you're watching My T-Rex Life. Okay guys, in today's video I want to discuss something that has been doing the rounds on the internet recently and has been published in several media outlets, and that is whether it's time for an update of the International Symbol of Access, or the disability symbol. In my opinion, yes, I do believe it's time for an update of this symbol. And there are several different reasons why I believe this to be the case. The first reason I think that we really need to look at updating the symbol has to do with how disabled people are perceived by society. There's often, like I've mentioned in my previous videos, quite a negative view or attitude towards disability. People with disabilities are seen to be incapable and, pitiful and all that jazz, when in reality, just because someone has a physical impairment, it might not have any impact on their quality of life or their ability to do the things that they wish to do. So when we have this here, which is the current symbol for disability, it shows the individual sitting in a very static position. Now, I know at the end of the day it's just a symbol and it's just so people can identify certain facilities and things like that, but I think when we have such strong misconceptions within our society of what it means to be disabled, that we really should be doing everything that we can to change people's perceptions of disability. And even if it's just as small as changing a symbol, which we in fact see in most places that we go, it's actually quite a big step to helping to do that. So over here we have one example of what is being proposed and one example of what has actually been adopted in several states in America and actually several countries across Europe. This shows the person with a disability as being dynamic and being in control of the wheelchair and leaning forward as if, they have momentum and they're actually moving. This shows that the wheelchair is a means of getting around and that the individual has control over that. It almost comes back to the debate of wheelchair user versus wheelchair bound. When we think of wheelchair user, we think of someone who is, living their life and using their wheelchair as a tool to get around and their life not being consumed by the wheelchair. But when we say wheelchair bound, it's much more negative, and we think that, when we have that image in our head, it's hard to see past the wheelchair and actually see the person that is controlling the wheelchair in most instances. So again, I think this would be great in terms of helping to change perception. I myself am a wheelchair user and I am very active and I am very independent. I'm not saying that's the case for all people with disabilities. Some disabilities do make it very hard for people to be independent and active, but I think that we should still represent people with disabilities as having some control over their lives, because in almost all instances that is true. And again, we don't want to see the wheelchair over the person. We want to see the individual before we see the wheelchair. However, I do in fact have slight issues with this design also, as this further promotes the stereotype that the only people that require accessible facilities are individuals who are wheelchair users. And this is not the case. When I look like this, I am seen as disabled. However, when I'm out and about looking like this, I am in fact still disabled. And even when I'm looking like this, again, I still have a disability. And in all instances, I benefit greatly from accessible facilities. Whether, that's having more room to be able to get around, because navigating space is not something that's particularly easy for me, or, just things like that, and that is the case for many individuals with disability. So I think if anything, we should be looking to have a symbol that not only portrays people with disabilities as being active and in control of their lives, and a more positive representation to help shift the perception of disability and attitudes towards disability within our society, we should also be looking for something that is more inclusive of everyone with a disability. I just want to run through some comments that people have made on this particular topic, especially here within Australia. Now, when discussing this, the President of People with Disabilities Australia, Craig Wallace, said that he thinks Australia needs to focus on the bigger picture before even considering a new icon. Something like this doesn't fix any problems, however. It ends up getting a lot of oxygen, but he says that factors such as violence, unemployment, and life expectancy are still very prevalent in the disabled community and should receive more attention. It is not the symbol that needs changing, it's the compliance, it's the lobbying and idea of a group of people who are completely missing the point. Now, while I do agree that there are bigger fishes to fry in the tackling of issues around disability, I have to disagree that this is not important, because this is something that we can change now. You know, there's other things of very, very complex issues that are going to take a lot of time and a lot of knowledge to overcome. But this is something that is relatively easy to change. And although, you know, you think, wow, it's just a symbol, like what's the big deal? Again, this is a symbol that we see everywhere. And this is something that we see everywhere that is putting out a certain picture of what it means to be disabled, which again is pushing and enhancing certain perceptions and attitudes towards disability within Australia that are slightly negative and I think should be tackled. You know, and at a base level, that is what we need to do to tackle all of these other more complex issues. If we can change the way people view disability within our society, then, you know, they're going to be less likely to do these other things. So it's a really complex issue, and I don't have all the answers, unfortunately, but you guys might. So let me know your comments and your thoughts in the comment section down below, and remember to like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video. But most importantly, guys, remember to stay shiny, because I love yous. Hey, I'm Robin, and I'm disabled, or at least that's how I'm labelled. You see, I have cerebral palsy, which makes my muscles pretty ballsy, caught up in attention and moving without my attention. Today, if you didn't already read the title of this video, I want to talk about dating and relationships and cerebral palsy, because it's something that you guys ask me in nearly all of my popular videos in the comment section.